Alrighty, so I've been playing around with my test light, trying to figure stuff out, and I got a few things. So all these bulbs in here, they weren't burnt out, but it was missing this turn signal one. And the thing is with this is when the turn signals go, the left one doesn't go when the left one doesn't go when the left indicator's on. They just both blink at the same time. So that's one thing. This is where the fresh air fan control goes. So I need to get one of these little, what do you call them, metal guys on here to hold that guy in place. And then this guy down here that's in this little socket, or this little hole right here, is the light switch for the brake circuit. So what this guy does is if there's something wrong with the brake circuit, like the front or rear brakes aren't working correctly, this guy will illuminate while you're driving. And you're supposed to know whether or not it works is that when the key's on with the ignition on, car not started, this will be lighted up, but it's not this time. And I confirmed that there is power going to it, but there's no light, so I'm assuming it's just a crappy bulb, and I don't think I can remove that bulb, but we'll see about that. Cigarette lighter does work. Well, it's getting power to it, but it's not working. I even stuck one of these little guys in there just to see if like the blue LED right there will turn on, but it doesn't. So it's just not getting power, so I'm just going to replace the entire unit right there. The defrost switch down here is getting power to it, but I won't be able to actually test whether or not it works until I get the rear hatch back in. This slot right here holds this guy in place. Fasten seat belts. And there's a little bulb in here that's definitely burnt out. I'm going to show you. That guy's definitely burnt out. You can see he's exploded a while ago. And what this guy does is he illuminates when the sensor in the seats, and there is a sensor in these seats, and I need to determine if the seats even still have that sensor. When the sensor determines someone's sitting in the seats, and the wires from the seat belts are hooked up to this, and that doesn't sense that there's a, your seat belts are fastened, this guy will illuminate. So I think that's another bulb issue. Although I haven't tested whether that whole assembly actually works. I don't know whether or not it does because my seatbelts aren't put together or anything, but I can remove the bulb in that, so I think at least I'm just going to swap that one out. Moving over here, that's a blank. There's nothing there. Cigarette lighter, or ashtray. Fresh air controls. And then this little guy. Ice cream man. So then there's this little guy right here. And what this guy does is, and again there's power going to this, but there's no light coming on. What this does is it has a little, let's see if I can find where I put it. It's right here. You can move this guy around to basically shine light. It's like essentially a little map light. But what it's supposed to do is shine light on these guys down here, on whether or not the heat is on or off, or floor or face. The heater controls, it basically shines a light down onto that. This guy isn't working, so I'm going to see how much this whole assembly costs. And these are all like obviously things that don't matter, but to me it matters because, they're part of the car, so I kind of want to get them working right. And it's weird that the cigarette lighter power draws all the way back to the fuse for the electric fuel pump. And in the manual it says don't hook anything else up to the electric fuel pump, but obviously my electric fuel pump was removed, so this going there makes sense because it's a constant power, and that's probably where I'm going to also put my stereo power into. And speaking of which, I have this guy. It's a little JVC unit, CD player, aux jack, USB, remote control, all that fun stuff. And I'm this guy, I can't... It's crazy to me how cheap these things are now, just because everything's built in with like Apple Play and everything. It's crazy how cheap this stuff is. This was like $40. And it's JVC, it's not like some Chinese shit brand I never heard of. It's kind of crazy. But anyways, $40. And it does everything I need it to. But the thing that I'm trying to figure out is, where do I put it? Because what I would like to do is stick it in the glove box. And just kind of have it in there. And then just use everything by remote control. Because I really don't, like everything that's in the glove box, I don't need that much space in the glove box. Like, I'm okay with not having too much in there. But it doesn't fit like perfectly in there. Like, it sort of sticks out, and also the glove box in itself is fairly flimsy. And this guy is not heavy, but it's like, you know. But also I don't know how the hell to stick this thing in there so that it actually stays in place. I was thinking, like, remove the adapter here, and maybe weld on some right angle brackets to like the top, bottom, and the sides, and then like basically screw it down to the, you know, to the glove box itself, and then this will, well, actually I don't know if that would actually hold it in place because it's still not locked in there. So me trying to figure out how to actually hold this thing down is another thing. But I don't honestly think it'll be that hard to figure out. I just gotta figure it out. But as of right now, the plan is to put that in the glove box. The other thing, the obvious place to put it where all the stereos usually go is right under here. Because there's two screws there and there. This is where the stock head unit always mounted. But the thing is with this is that this will most likely interfere with the fresh air box. It'll most likely hit right up against it. So that's where this is a little bit difficult. Like, where the hell do I put you? And it also makes it seem like, you know, the glove box probably isn't that bad of an idea. I just got to figure out how to make it not move around while it's in there. But I'll figure that one out, I guess. So for the rest of today, I don't have too many electrical gremlins to figure out. I'm hoping the majority of this stuff is just old bulbs. Because it's getting, like, everything's getting power like it needs to. It's just, you know, not illuminating. And it's probably because, you know, it's old. I also have the speaker that goes up there. But I'll show that a little later, because I'm not going to put the speaker in until I get the wipers in there. And once the wipers are in there, I'm probably still not going to get the speakers up in there, because I like to have this opening like here through the speaker hole to kind of get in here and mess around with stuff. So I might just keep the speaker out for now, but it would be cool to be able to test whether or not it actually works. But I think the one thing I'm going to do today is put the door switches on here, the little guys that fit in there, which, and when the doors open, it basically completes a circuit that goes to like the dome light and the door buzzer and all that other stuff to basically tell the car that the doors are open. I think I'm going to swap those guys in there because it's just two. It's one on that door and then another one on that door, and just make sure that circuit actually works. I'm not sure if it actually does, because it's missing the door buzzer as well. I think that relay was just pulled out because I don't see it anywhere, and it makes sense because a lot of guys just do because it's annoying. But you know, it's part of the car and I want it, so I got to find myself a buzzer. I think that's enough of an update for today. Hey, through the power of editing, it's a couple days later, and I have a new speaker. This is a 4x8 instead of the 4x10. It's a lot shallower, so if mounting it up top like that, I definitely have enough room where I can put the ashtray in. It's not gonna foul with it or anything, but the issue here is I think in order to do this right, I am gonna have to cut into this dash, because this is an oval shape and a pretty much square hole. So I think I am going to have to drill into this, or the other thing to do, or by drill I mean like cut it out like that, or the other thing I can do is make a mounting plate for this, which means that it sits up like that, which I don't know if it's going to actually foul with the dash pad itself. I know that there's a little bit of a hump there for the speakers, and this little bit right here does look like it clears it if it's sitting on top like that, but I don't know. Maybe I do just need to space this out a little bit with like a cylindrical spacer and screw into it. But then a portion of this is resting on metal, and I don't know if that's the right way to do it. I'm really trying to avoid drilling into this, but frankly, like, I can't make these mounting holes work. If they even are mounting holes, I can't make them work. So I think this just has to be drilled into the top like this, but I just hope that it's sitting on top like this and playing, well, I don't know. I have to do some measuring to see if this will actually work, and rip apart the old dash I have just to see if, like, sitting it up like that and just, you know, spacing it out and screwing down where these mounting holes are, if it's actually going to fit, one, and then wiring it up and seeing if it's just going to vibrate all to hell. But I could do things like put like little felt washers in there, but that'll raise it up a little bit more. I think you're starting to see my dilemma here. I really don't want to cut into the dash, but I want to make sure that it fits and it actually works correctly. Because this is really it. This is the one that's going to work. Because it's so shallow at the bottom, it's not going to interfere with the ashtray. Even if I set it down a little bit, it's still not going to interfere, but I just need to know. I just want to know what's the best way to do this. Do I want to cut into this? No, but if I got to, if I have to, I have to. It's just, yeah, like all that would have to be cut. And all that would have to be cut. Just to make it flush down. Nah. I don't know. Let me measure a little bit. Yep, just as I feared. The dash pad put in here, and the speaker in there, and trying to push down on it, it's just not going to allow it to fit in its current state. So if you remove the speaker, try and fit it back up again. Doesn't really have an issue, so it's got to be flush. I guess I'm cutting. Alrighty. Things are going in the right direction. So, wiring things that have been fixed. First of all, I now have functioning wipers. You can hear it work. Probably can't see it work, but they're working. Wipers work. This guy right here, the brake circuit warning light, he's all fixed up now. It was just a broken bulb. The cigarette lighter, it's a new one, so this time it actually works. Just gonna let it pop out. What else was there? So the seatbelt warning light, I have to actually hook up these, the seatbelts and such to see if this actually works. But I kind of don't know how it actually works in the back there. But anyways, here's a cigarette lighter. There we go. You can see. Nice and rosy. So now the cigarette lighter is working. The map light now works. It's very hard to see, but maybe you can see it on my hand. It's just a little guy. This basically illuminates these heater controls down here. This little map light. I guess you can't turn it off. It's just always on. When the headlights are on, it's just always on, I guess. So that's that. And that is pretty much it. I'm still trying to figure out the stereo. I'm 99% sure that I have to put it in underneath instead of laying it on top. I have to put it on underneath, but there are some little tabbies here on either side that I'll have to grind off in order to make that fit. And that I am not too concerned about. But yeah, TBD on that. I'm still waiting on the forums to get back to me on that. But let's talk about this this glove box that completely fell apart. It rotted away into nothing. Like it just, it wasn't going to last that long. But the new head unit I have, which is just a Bluetooth unit with an aux port and some other things, it doesn't have a CD player. So that little guy will fit in here. But I need to get a new glove box. And actually, there is a guy out there that makes replacement glove boxes out of fiberglass instead of cardboard, so they're a little bit more sturdy, and they're about $40. And so I will be doing that for sure. But at least with this, I can make a template as far as mounts go, mounting that head unit in here, because now it will fit, because it's very, very tiny, and I'll be able to suspend it in the glove box. So at least I'll be able to screw around with this, make some brackets and a template, so when I get the new one, I can just pop that guy right in there. But yeah, that's it. I'm still trying to figure out my dome light situation. That guy's still not working, but I need to run to my local place, my local VW place, and get a door switch. And then once that's done, we shall see. So, yeah, man, things are moving in the right direction. As far as electrical stuff to get figured out, I'm running out of things to figure out, frankly. I eventually need to get my tachometer to work, which takes a cable running from where the tach's going to sit all the way back to, I think it's the distributor, the negative part of the distributor. And I think that's what actually records your RPMs. So I got to do that. Taillights are hooked up. Show that in a little bit. As far as electrics go, I don't know if there's that much really left to do. I mean, obviously, wire up the stereo, get the dome light and the door switch to work, probably pick up a door buzzer, because fuck it, why not? What else am I missing? Oh yeah, this guy, the switch for the fan control. I was able to find this part, and apparently it's off of a bus or a Type 34. There's actually a few things on this car that I only was able to find on the Type 34. I guess it was just a late model Squareback thing. But this little guy, I don't know how to mount him in the hole that he's supposed to go in. So I might just take this guy to my local Volkswagen place and just be like, do you have another one of these in stock that I could look at and discern whether or not I'm missing a part? Because right now there's no way to mount it in there without it just flopping around. So I will take a look at that later and figure it out. But for right now, I mean, I get the dome light working, get the door buzzer working. At that point, all the electrics are good to go. I mean, I don't know whether or not the rear defroster works, and I won't know for a while, but yeah. Am I done with all my electronics? Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But yeah, things are working. But anyways, been rambling too long. Cut. Yep. Being safe. The air is unsafe to breathe. But anyways, work continues. I got the speaker fit. And my thought of not cutting, I had to throw that out. So I cut a larger hole in there. And then I cut a hole in the ashtray to give myself a little bit more clearance there. But, you know, the ashtray works. Does all that. And it doesn't foul up with the speaker at all. So I just have to mount that in there. So my revelation with all this stuff was essentially, look, man, if someone wants to say that this car is original, all they have to do is look at the passenger side floor pans to know that that is incorrect. So what the fuck am I doing waffling around about whether or not I want to cut more into this car? So I say the hell with it. I just did it, and now I have a speaker up here, and I'm going to clean up those edges a little bit. So most likely in the future, oh there we go, now it's slotted into place nicely. Most likely in the future, when I put the dash pad back on, the pads on the dash, the undersides of it, like this stuff in there, are probably gonna hit the sides of this speaker. So the new dash pad that I get, I'm just gonna have to make sure I trim that to fit. Just trim off some of that foam, and really that's not a big deal, but the speaker is far from being completely out of the woods of being an issue. There's definitely more to be done with that. But, you know, it fits. And also, frankly, I was at the Volkswagen shop the other day, like, getting some, you know, miscellaneous stuff. And this guy had a 67 Squareback there, and I'm like, cool, you know, and the outside was ratty as fuck, but the interior was actually pretty good. And he had speakers on the door panels, like, just actually in there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, that just looks shit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, one there, or like one in the kick. I'm sorry. It just one look. I just didn't think it looked good to me at all. So I was thinking about when, you know, my options do with this. Well, okay, let's throw this out and just not have anything in the dash. Well, then what are my options? Throw something either in the kick panel or in the door. And I don't like the way that looks. So this new head unit in the glove box and 2 speakers underneath the seats whenever I get to those. And then I essentially have 4 speaker surround, if you count that as 2 speakers, which, you know, according to Retro Sound, they do. And then I'll have my stereo. Okay. So I'm still going to use this glove box to I'm going to try and start to figure out how I'm going to fit the head unit into there as far as brackets and such. But I want to practice on this thing because the new glove box that's coming in is a fiberglass one, and it's going to cost me around $60. So I definitely don't want to practice on that one. I'd rather practice on this one. So, but yeah, in order to get this shit fixed, I know I have tons of clearance, but I had to cut into the top of the ashtray there to give myself a little bit more room. And really, like, it all works as it's supposed to still. Just leaving enough room for this black flap there to have something to hold up against, and this guy having a channel to run through. I mean, then really it's fine, because frankly I'm never going to freaking use the ashtray. You know, it's not like I'm not a cigarette smoker anymore, so it's not like I'm actually going to have things in here that are like, oh, I want to make sure that it's, you know, covered up. I just like having it. Like, it's a nice place to put your phone, actually. So that's really the reason why I'm keeping it. But yeah, that's it. And this is ugly. I know. I will clean that up. But now, ich habe viele Musik. Schön. So I am hooking up the radio and just the power portion of the head unit. Now with most head units, or pretty much all head units, you have an accessory on and a power on. So like an always on and then an on when the key is turned on. So I don't want to have it on all the time because it's an old system, and frankly having some electronics on all the time, even if it's a small amount, could cause a bit of parasitic drain, and I really don't want to stress out an old motor or an old starter with that sort of stuff. So I've just wired up both of the accessory on and the constant on to the old fuel injection fuse, because obviously the fuel injection doesn't exist on this car anymore, and also it's only going to turn on when the key is turned on. Fuel injection isn't constantly on. And then the ground is just, there's a relay of grounds, or like not a relay, but a bunch of grounds up there in the far back beyond that brace. There's a bunch of posts for body grounds, so I just used one of those. So, with that being said, let's turn it on. Off, key on, turns on, showcasing the time, and now it's on. It's upside down, but it's on. So, yeah, this is how I want to do it. This is how I want it. I don't want to have it constant on, because when it's constant on, it's at least showing the clock. Granted, it's LED and it's not going to do that much of a drain. But frankly, because this is going to be hidden in the glove compartment, I really don't give a shit about what it's doing when the key isn't in the ignition. So that's how I want it. I will now go and wire up the speakers. It's time to make a bracket for this thing. So yes, with this new guy, I can put it in the glove box, which is awesome. But I can't just lay it on top. Like, obviously I can't just like lay it in there, because it'll rattle around, make noise, possibly damage itself. It's not a CD player, so obviously I don't have to worry about it like being shock resistant. I just need it to stay put in there. So I'm gonna make some brackets, and I got some. Let me see if I can pull this out. Oop. Got some aluminum. What is this? Probably 1/8 inch. Yeah, 1/8 inch aluminum bar, and I'm going to use this to build some very rudimentary brackets. Now, you can see on here, there's a couple little holes here, and in the interior of this, actually there's nothing. You remove this faceplate, this screw here, screw over there, and then these little notches pop the faceplate off. Really, all of the mechanisms are back here. There's just a little ribbon that connects all this back here to the faceplate. So there's just a bunch of empty space in here. So I can put a bolt through here, nut, and put a nut on it on the other side, and it'll hold and it won't interfere with anything in the actual head unit itself. So I can just bolt something to this and just basically make it stay forever, frankly. I don't have to worry about that. So that's the one part of it, how to actually mount this to the bracket, because then this will be rock solid mounted to the bracket. And then the second portion of it is how do I mount it to the glove box. And I think the easiest way to do that is just to make the bracket just come from here and then just come off here a little bit. Just a little bit under, because I can't put it underneath it because the head of the bolt in order to actually get at it, it would mean I would have to elevate it more than I have space for in the glove box. So the bracket just needs to come out that way. Now I don't need a whole lot of room when that bracket comes off because I'm just using these 1/4 inch bolts. I'm just going to have 2 of them. So I really don't need a whole lot of room to bolt these guys down. So I think I measured this, and to get these bolt holes, or to get these holes, it's about 1 3/4 inches. And then I think probably a 1/2 inch off of this should give me enough room to put some bolts down. Let me just, so that gets me about out to there, which is just enough. Maybe I'll do 3/4 of an inch. Maybe that'll be good enough. Or maybe split the difference to whatever it is in the middle of a 1/2 and 3/4, whatever the hell that is. But yeah, all I have to do is be able to pretty much just give this bolt head enough room to sit. So if that is, the bolt head itself is a little less than a 1/2 inch, let's give it a little bit more room to sit. Yeah, whatever it is in the middle of 1/2 inch and 3/4. So that's it. So first things first, make the brackets, cut this to length, bend it up in the vise, make 2 of them, drill the holes, mount this in here like forever, and then turn my attention to the glove box. Pretty easy. In theory, it's easy. Cool. Got some brackets with drilled holes and bent to shape. They're ready to go for a test fit. Howdy. So these guys are on, and I realized something. Got a lot more room to mount these things, mount this, than I thought. Because this has it just a couple millimeters off the bottom of it, but I actually have a little bit more room. But unfortunately, this one is a little bit shorter than this one. I think this one is the correct length, if not maybe do like a millimeter or 2 lower on this. But this guy's definitely too short, so I gotta elongate you. So the easiest thing to do, I think, is just to cut out these, basically get a router and elongate these holes a little and slide this down a little bit. Bueno. Let's try this shit. So, speakers are lightly wired in, or I should say speaker. The antenna is in, and I got the power where it needs to be. So let's see if I can get some static. Is it? Oh. It fell off the grounds and shit. God damn it. Alright, hang on. Un momento. Ein Moment bitte. Oh shit. Alright, let's try it again. There we go. Oops. Doesn't have a great connection on the power, but actually, you know what, let me fix that. I can hear it ticking away. This connection kind of stinks. Alrighty. We have static. See if we can actually tune a little bit.
Probably have bad intentions.
The United States has for the first time voted against the yearly UN resolution which condemns Israel's occupation of the Golan Heights.
Sounds important. Let's get some music going. Sounds cool.
Executive Director of...
Nope.
Baby, I'm the one who put you up there. I don't know why. Gave love about 100 tries.
That's pretty good for a little speaker.
Demons in your mind. Then I took yours and made them mine.
That's pretty impressive.
Didn't notice cause my love was blind. Said I'd catch you if you fall.
Cool.
Times on the core where you
Tap on my window, knock on my door.
That's, you know, that's pretty good.
Feel beautiful.
Cool. And let's just make sure it turns off when...
Doesn't matter anymore.
Hey, check it out.
It's not always real.
Oh, wow, that sounds good.
I got some music finally.
Damn.
So sweet.
I'd be damn.
I mean,
Sounds good, Mike.
yeah, I don't know who that is. Maroon 5?
Oh, okay.
It's the hell out of me, I don't know.
Me either. I don't listen to much music.
But it's better than nothing, huh?
Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah.
Got it.
Good for you.
Yeah, I figured it out. Let's make sure it turns off. Alright. I say that's a success.